Alright, GymProLife family, let's get real for a second. You see it all the time, right? You're in the gym, day in, day out, grinding, sweating, pushing yourself to what feels like your absolute limit. You're putting in the hours, you're dedicated, but then you look around. Some people, they just seem to explode with muscle, growing bigger and stronger almost by the week. Meanwhile, you might be feeling stuck, like you're spinning your wheels, wondering why all that effort isn't translating into the gains you deserve. It's frustrating, I know. You ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? Why isn't my hard work paying off like theirs? This is a common roadblock, a plateau that so many lifters hit. And it's often not about a lack of effort, but a lack of the right strategy. But here's the game changer, the secret sauce that separates the consistently progressing from the perpetually perplexed. It's not just about mindlessly lifting heavy things, grunting through reps without a plan. It's about lifting. It's about understanding the fundamental principle that underpins all successful muscle growth. And that principle, that powerful key, is progressive overload. This isn't some fancy, complicated theory reserved for elite athletes. It's the bedrock of how your muscles adapt and grow. It's the intelligent application of stress that forces your body to respond, to become more than it was. Forget just going through the motions. We're talking about a calculated, strategic approach to every single workout, ensuring that you're always giving your body a reason to improve. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Progressive overload. Yeah, I've heard that buzzword before. But let me tell you, this is far more than just a trending topic or a catchy phrase. This is the absolute backbone of real, tangible, lasting transformation in your physique and your strength. It's the science-backed method that has stood the test of time, the core concept that every successful lifter, consciously or unconsciously, applies. Today, we're not just going to skim the surface. We're going to dive deep. We're going to break down progressive overload step by step, demystifying it and showing you exactly how to implement it effectively into your own training, no matter your current level. This is about giving you the tools for consistent gains, for real results you can see and feel. So I need you locked in, focused, and ready to absorb this knowledge, because it's going to revolutionize your training. Stay tuned, because over the next few minutes, I'm going to unveil 7 powerful, practical, and immediately actionable ways you can apply progressive overload in your workouts. Whether you're training in a fully equipped gym or making it happen at home with limited gear. We're talking about strategies that will unlock new levels of muscle growth and strength. If you're tired of being stuck and ready to finally see the results your hard work merits, then you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like, and comment gains down below if you're ready to transform your approach and build some serious muscle. Let's go. Alright team, let's kick things off with the most classic, the most intuitive, and often the most effective method of progressive overload, simply adding more weight to the bar, the dumbbells, or the machine you're using. This is the cornerstone of strength progression, the undeniable signal to your muscles that they need to step up their game. When you consistently challenge your body with a heavier load than it's previously handled, you're essentially creating a demand for adaptation. Your muscle fibers experience micro-trauma, a necessary stress that, when coupled with proper recovery and nutrition, forces them to repair and grow back, thicker and stronger, to handle this new increased demand. Yeah, it's a direct conversation with your physiology, telling it in no uncertain terms, get stronger, get bigger, because this is the new standard. This increased mechanical tension is a primary driver of muscle hypertrophy. Think about it, your muscles are incredibly adaptive. If you lift the same weight for the same reps week after week, your body says, okay, I've got this, no need to change. But the moment you add even a small increment of weight, say an extra 2.5 pounds or 1.25 kilos to your bench press, you're presenting a novel stimulus. This new challenge disrupts the homeostasis, forcing your neuromuscular system to recruit more muscle fibers and to make those fibers work harder. This isn't just about ego lifting, it's about strategically applying stress. Each small increase in weight, done consistently over time, accumulates into significant strength and size gains. It's the bread and butter of getting undeniably stronger. Now, the crucial word here is, this isn't about slapping on an extra 20 pounds every week and risking injury with sloppy form. That's a fast track to Snap City, not Gains City. We're talking about smart incremental increases. This could be as little as adding the smallest plates available, or even just one more rep with the current weight before you jump up. Listen to your body. If your form starts to break down significantly with the added weight, you've likely gone too heavy too soon. The goal is to challenge the muscle, not to compromise your joints or your technique. Micro progressions are your best friend here. Small, consistent steps forward lead to massive leaps in the long run. Remember, patience and consistency in adding weight trump reckless ambition every single time. So, when you're planning your workouts, always be thinking about how you can safely and effectively increase the load on your key compound movements and even your isolation exercises over time. This method is powerful because it directly addresses the muscle's capacity to produce force. It's a clear, measurable way to track your progress and ensure you're constantly pushing your boundaries. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself, but do it intelligently. This consistent, calculated increase in resistance is what will keep your muscles adapting, growing, and transforming, moving you steadily towards your ultimate physique goals. It's about making today's heavy tomorrow's warm-up, one smart increment at a time. Now, while adding more weight is a fantastic driver of muscle growth, there's a massive, unshakable condition attached to it. Your form be impeccable, or at least consistently solid. I cannot stress this enough, family. Piling on more weight with compromised technique is not progressive overload. It's just asking for an injury, a setback that can derail your progress for weeks, months, or even longer. The goal is to stimulate the target muscle effectively and safely. If your form breaks down, the tension shifts away from the intended muscles and onto vulnerable joints, tendons, and ligaments. This not only reduces the effectiveness of the exercise for muscle growth, but dramatically increases your risk of getting hurt. So, before you even think about adding that next plate, do an honest assessment of your technique. Think about those common pitfalls you see in the gym, the back rounding like a scared cat during a heavy deadlift, the bar bouncing off the chest in a bench press, or the knees caving in during a squat. These are all signs that the weight is too heavy for the lifter to control with proper mechanics. When you increase the load, these minor form deviations can become major problems. It's far better to lift a slightly lighter weight with perfect control, feeling every inch of the movement in the target muscle, than to heave a heavier weight with sloppy form, risking injury and getting a subpar stimulus. Consider filming yourself performing your main lifts. It can be incredibly revealing and help you spot technical flaws you weren't even aware of. This is where the importance of safety measures also comes into play, especially when you're pushing your limits with heavier loads. If you're squatting heavy, use the safety bars in the power rack. If you're bench pressing near your maximum, try to have a reliable spotter. These precautions aren't a sign of weakness, they're a sign of intelligence and respect for the iron and for your own body. Knowing you have a safety net allows you to push closer to your true limits with more confidence without the fear of getting pinned or injured if you fail a rep. Safety should always be your number one priority in the gym, because you can't make gains if you're consistently sidelined by injuries. Plan for safety. Just as you plan for progression, ultimately mastering your form you chase heavier and heavier numbers is the key to sustainable, injury-free progress. When your technique is locked in, you can be confident that the increased weight is actually challenging the muscles you intend to grow, rather than just stressing your connective tissues or relying on momentum. Good form ensures maximum muscle activation, optimal stimulus for hypertrophy, and longevity in your lifting journey. So, treat form as a skill to be constantly refined and perfected. It's the foundation upon which all your future strength and size gains will be built. Lift heavy, yes, but always lift smart and lift safe. Alright, so we've established that adding weight is a kingpin strategy for progressive overload. But what if you're in a situation where adding more weight isn't immediately feasible? Maybe you train at home with limited equipment, or perhaps you're at a point where jumping up in weight on a particular exercise feels too aggressive. Fear not, because there's another incredibly potent tool in our progressive overload arsenal: increasing the number of repetitions you perform with a given weight. This shifts the focus slightly from pure maximal load to increasing the total volume of work and challenging your muscular endurance, both of which can be powerful stimuli for growth. It's about making the same weight feel harder by doing more with it. When you push for more reps with a weight that's already challenging, you're extending the time under tension for your muscles, and this is a crucial factor in stimulating hypertrophy. You're also tapping into different energy systems and potentially recruiting a broader range of muscle fibers, including those more geared towards endurance. This can lead to what's known as sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, which is an increase in the volume of the muscle cell sarcoplasm, the fluid and non-contractile components. This contributes to a fuller, more pumped look in the muscle. So, while adding weight primarily targets myofibrillar hypertrophy, growth of the contractile proteins, increasing reps can offer a complementary pathway to muscle size, creating a well-rounded stimulus for development. Think about your current training. Let's say you're bench pressing 150 pounds for 8 reps, and that 8th rep is a real grinder. Instead of immediately trying to jump to 155 or 160 pounds, your goal for the next session or subsequent sessions could be to hit 9 reps with that same 150 pounds, then 10 reps, perhaps even up to 12 reps. Once you can comfortably achieve, say, 12 clean reps with that weight, then you've earned the right to increase the load and potentially drop the reps back down to 8, starting the cycle anew. This is a very systematic and effective way to ensure you're constantly progressing, even if the weight on the bar isn't changing every single week. It's about pushing the boundaries of what you can do with a specific load. This method of increasing repetitions is particularly valuable for breaking through plateaus, and can be less taxing on the central nervous system compared to constantly pushing for maximal weight increases. It allows for a high degree of metabolic stress, which is another key driver of muscle growth, often associated with that satisfying muscle pump. It also builds incredible work capacity and mental toughness, teaching you to push through discomfort when your muscles are burning and begging you to stop. So don't underestimate the power of simply aiming for one more rep. It's a fundamental way to progressively overload your muscles and keep those gains coming consistently. Now, when we talk about increasing repetitions as a method of progressive overload, it's absolutely vital to understand the delicate but crucial balance between the number of reps you're performing and the amount of weight you're using. You can't just pick up a feather light dumbbell and do 50 reps hoping for massive bicep growth if your goal is significant hypertrophy. While high reps have their place, for most muscle building scenarios, the weight needs to be challenging enough to bring you close to muscular failure within a specific productive rep range. If the weight is too light, you're primarily training endurance without providing a strong enough signal for substantial muscle adaptation and growth. The key is to select a weight that forces you to struggle with good form as you approach the upper end of your target rep range. For example, if your program calls for 8 to 12 repetitions, the weight should be heavy enough that you can't perform more than 12 reps with proper technique. If you find yourself easily banging out 15 or 20 reps when your target was 12, that's a clear indicator that the weight is too light to provide an optimal hypertrophic stimulus for that specific set. You need that challenge, that feeling of your muscles truly working and fatiguing to trigger the growth mechanisms we're after. It's about finding that sweet spot where the load is significant and the reps push you to your limit. So, how do you strategically increase reps without sacrificing the intensity from the load? A common and effective approach is to work within a defined rep range as mentioned. Let's say you're aiming for 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps on squats. You pick a weight where you can achieve perhaps 10, 9, and 8 reps across your 3 sets. Your goal over the next few workouts would be to gradually add reps to each of those sets, aiming to eventually hit 3 sets of 12 reps with that same weight. Once you achieve that, it's a strong signal that your muscles have adapted and grown stronger, and now it's time to increase the weight, even if it means your reps drop back down to the lower end of that 8 to 12 range for the first session with the new heavier load. And, as always, I have to sound like a broken record on this, but it's that important form remains king, even when you're chasing more reps. It's easy to get sloppy, to use momentum, or to cut the range of motion short just to hit a higher number of repetitions, but those cheat reps do very little for muscle growth and can significantly increase your risk of injury. Each repetition from the first to the last should be performed with conscious control and proper technique. Quality reps, where the target muscle is doing the work through its full range of motion, are infinitely more valuable than a higher quantity of poorly executed movements. Master this balance and you'll unlock consistent progress. Alright team, let's dive deep into our third powerhouse principle for progressive overload: increasing your sets. Now, many lifters get laser focused on just adding more plates to the bar or grinding out an extra rep or two. And don't get me wrong, those are absolutely crucial, as we've already covered. But think about this. What if you could significantly amplify the muscle building signal you're sending without necessarily having to lift heavier or push to absolute failure on every single set? That's where the magic of increasing your total number of sets comes into play. It's about accumulating more productive work over the course of your session, hitting those muscle fibers from multiple angles and with repeated stimulus, really forcing them to adapt and grow stronger and bigger. Increasing your sets is fundamentally about increasing your training volume, which is one of the primary drivers of muscle hypertrophy. Each set you perform is an opportunity to challenge your muscles, to create that necessary mechanical tension and metabolic stress that signals your body to build back stronger. So if you're currently doing, say, 3 sets of an exercise, moving to 4 or even 5 sets while maintaining good form and appropriate intensity can dramatically increase the total workload placed upon the target muscle group. This isn't just about doing more for the sake of doing more. It's about strategically layering in additional stimulus, ensuring that you're pushing past your previous thresholds and providing a compelling reason for your muscles to undergo positive adaptation. Think of each set as a conversation with your muscles. With fewer sets, it might be a brief chat. But when you increase the number of sets, you're having a much deeper, more persuasive discussion, telling them unequivocally that they need to step up the game. This prolonged engagement ensures that a greater number of muscle fibers are recruited and fatigued, which is essential for maximizing growth potential. You're essentially increasing the density of your workout for that specific muscle group, providing more chances to perfect your form, enhance your mind-muscle connection, and ultimately to trigger a more robust hypertrophic response. It's a powerful tool, especially when you feel you might be plateauing with or just weight or rep increases. Furthermore, adding sets allows for a more nuanced approach to training intensity. Perhaps you can't increase the weight on your main heavy sets yet, but you can certainly add a back-off set or two with slightly lighter weight but still high effort, or even an additional set at your current working weight. This strategy allows you to accumulate more quality repetitions, pushing your muscles closer to their growth threshold without necessarily requiring you to go to absolute failure on every single attempt, which can be very taxing on your central nervous system. It's about smart, sustainable progression, building that solid foundation of volume that underpins serious muscle development over the long haul. Now, before you rush off to double the number of sets for every exercise in your routine, it's crucial to approach this method intelligently. Simply adding a ton of volume haphazardly can quickly lead to overtraining, diminished returns, and an increased risk of injury. The key is gradual and strategic implementation. Start by adding just one extra set to one or two key compound exercises for a specific muscle group. Monitor how your body responds to this increase in volume. Are you recovering well? Is your strength still progressing? Are you feeling excessively sore or fatigued? These are important questions to ask yourself, as they will guide your progression. Adequate recovery between sets becomes even more paramount when you're performing a higher number of them. While we'll talk about shortening rest times later as another overload strategy, when your primary goal for a particular phase is to increase set volume, you need to ensure you're recovered enough to perform each additional set with good form and sufficient intensity. If you're too fatigued, the quality of your subsequent sets will suffer, diminishing the effectiveness of the added volume. So, listen to your body, take those 60 to 120 seconds or even a bit more for heavy compound lifts to allow your muscles to partially recover ATP and clear some metabolic byproducts, enabling you to attack the next set with purpose. Consider the overall structure of your training week as well. If you're significantly increasing the set volume for, say, your chest workout on Monday, you need to ensure you have adequate recovery time before you train chest again, or even before you train synergistic muscle groups like shoulders or triceps heavily. This might mean adjusting your training split or ensuring your nutrition and sleep are absolutely dialed in to support this increased demand. Remember, muscles grow during recovery, not just during the workout itself. The workout is the stimulus, the recovery is where the magic of adaptation and growth truly happens. So, respect the process. Finally, don't be afraid to periodize your set volume. You don't have to maintain the highest possible number of sets indefinitely. You might have a volume accumulation phase where you gradually increase sets for several weeks, followed by a phase where you slightly reduce sets but focus on increasing intensity through other means like heavier weight or advanced techniques. This undulating approach can help prevent plateaus and keep your training fresh and effective. The goal is to consistently challenge your body in new ways, and strategically manipulating your set volume is a powerful and versatile tool in your progressive overload arsenal, helping you build that dense, quality muscle we're all striving for. Alright, let's shift gears and talk about another incredibly potent way to crank up the intensity and drive muscle growth, shortening your rest times between sets. This is method number 4 in our progressive overload toolkit, and it's one that can create a very different kind of challenge for your muscles. When you strategically reduce the amount of time you spend recovering between your hard efforts, you're essentially forcing your body to work harder, to become more efficient at clearing metabolic waste products, and to operate under a greater degree of metabolic stress. This specific type of stress is a well-documented trigger for muscle hypertrophy, working synergistically with mechanical tension. Think about what happens physiologically when you shorten those rest periods. Your heart rate stays elevated for longer, you experience a greater buildup of lactate and hydrogen ions. That's the burn you feel. And your muscles are forced to continue contracting before they've fully recovered their short-term energy stores. This creates a potent hormonal response, potentially increasing the release of growth hormone and other anabolic factors that contribute to muscle repair and growth. It's a fantastic way to increase workout density, meaning you're doing more work in less time, which can be incredibly effective for sparking new gains, especially if you've hit a plateau with other methods. This technique isn't just about making your workouts feel harder, though they certainly will. It's about inducing a specific physiological state that promotes adaptation. By limiting recovery, you challenge your muscle's endurance capabilities and its ability to buffer acidity. Over time, your muscles adapt by improving their capillarization, the density of small blood vessels, enhancing their mitochondrial function, the powerhouses of your cells, and increasing their stores of glycogen. These adaptations not only support muscle growth, but also improve your overall work capacity, allowing you to train harder and longer in future sessions. It's a cascade of positive changes stemming from a simple tweak to your rest intervals. Moreover, shortening rest times can be particularly effective for sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, which refers to an increase in the volume of the muscle cell's sarcoplasm, the fluid and non-contractile components, while myofibrillar hypertrophy, growth of the contractile proteins, is often associated with heavy lifting. The metabolic stress induced by shorter rest periods can significantly contribute to that fuller, more pumped look that many lifters desire. It adds another dimension to your muscle development, complementing the strength and density gains you get from lifting progressively heavier weights. So, it's a crucial component for a well-rounded physique. So, how do you actually implement shorter rest periods effectively and safely? The key, as with all progressive overload techniques, is to do it gradually. If you're currently resting for, say, 90 to 120 seconds between sets on an exercise, don't suddenly slash it down to 30 seconds. That's a recipe for a dramatic drop in performance, a breakdown in form, and potentially an increased risk of injury. Instead, aim to reduce your rest time by small increments, perhaps 10 to 15 seconds at a time. For example, if you rested 90 seconds last week, try resting 75 seconds this week while striving to maintain the same weight and reps. It's vital to monitor how your body responds. Shorter rest times will inevitably lead to greater fatigue accumulation during your workout. You need to be honest with yourself about whether you can maintain proper lifting technique. If your form starts to break down significantly just to hit your target reps with the shorter rest, you're negating the benefits and potentially setting yourself up for problems. In such cases, it might be necessary to slightly reduce the weight you're lifting to accommodate the increased intensity from the reduced rest. The goal is productive effort, not just sloppy rush sets. Quality over sheer, uncontrolled exertion. Be particularly mindful of compound exercises versus isolation movements. For heavy, neurologically demanding lifts like squats, deadlifts, or heavy bench presses, You'll generally need longer rest periods to allow for sufficient recovery of both the muscular and central nerve systems. Trying to rush these can be counterproductive and risky. However, for isolation exercises or even some machine-based compound movements, you can often get away with and even benefit more from shorter rest periods, really chasing that pump and metabolic stress. Context is everything, so apply this technique judiciously based on the exercise. Finally, listen to your body's overall fatigue signals, not just during the workout, but in the days that follow. If you find that consistently using very short rest periods is leaving you feeling drained, unmotivated, or excessively sore for prolonged periods, it might be a sign that you're overdoing it, or that your overall recovery, sleep, nutrition, stress management isn't adequate to support that level of intensity. Progressive overload is a marathon, not a sprint. Shortening rest times is a powerful tool, but it must be wielded with intelligence and an awareness of your body's capacity to adapt and recover, ensuring sustainable progress on your muscle building journey. Now we're getting into some really nuanced but incredibly effective strategies. Our fifth method of progressive overload is manipulating your lifting tempo, particularly by emphasizing slow negatives or the eccentric phase of the lift. This is where you control the lowering portion of the movement. Many people focus almost exclusively on the concentric or lifting phase, often letting the weight drop quickly or with little control. But my friends, you are leaving a massive amount of muscle building potential on the table if you neglect the eccentric. This phase is critically important for creating muscle damage, which, when coupled with proper recovery, is a key stimulus for growth. Think about it. Your muscles are actually stronger during the eccentric phase than they are during the concentric phase. This means you can control more weight on the way down than you can lift on the way up. By deliberately slowing down this lowering portion, say taking 3, 4, or even 5 seconds to lower the weight, you dramatically increase the total time your muscles are under tension for each repetition. This prolonged tension creates significant mechanical stress on the muscle fibers, leading to more microtrauma. This isn't bad trauma, it's the good kind that signals your body to repair and rebuild those fibers bigger and stronger than before. Focusing on slow negatives also forces you to improve your mind-muscle connection. When you're consciously controlling the descent of the weight, you have to be fully engaged with the target muscle, feeling it stretch and work throughout the entire range of motion. This heightened awareness can translate into better muscle activation and recruitment, ensuring that the intended muscle is doing the lion's share of the work rather than relying on momentum or other muscle groups to assist. It's about making every single part of every single rep count, turning a standard set into a much more potent growth stimulus. This is precision training at its finest. Furthermore, incorporating controlled eccentrics can be a fantastic way to break through strength plateaus. If you're stuck at a certain weight, try performing eccentric focused reps with a slightly heavier load than you can lift concentrically, perhaps with the help of a spotter on the way up, or by using a weight you can manage for the negative portion. This can help your nervous system adapt to handling heavier loads and can stimulate strength gains that then carry over to your regular concentric lifting. It's also generally considered to be safer on the joints when performed correctly, as you're moving with control rather than jerky, explosive movements, especially during the lowering phase. So, how do we practically implement advanced tempo training, especially these slow negatives, into our workouts? A common way to denote tempo is using a series of numbers, for example 4-1-2-1. This would mean a 4-second eccentric, a 1-second pause at the bottom, a 2-second concentric, and a 1-second pause at the top. You don't have to get overly complicated, but understanding this concept allows you to be deliberate. For emphasizing negatives, you might use a 4-0-1-0 tempo, focusing purely on that slow descent and a more explosive, or at least controlled, ascent. When you first start incorporating slow negatives, you'll likely need to reduce the weight you're using compared to your normal lifting style. This is perfectly normal and expected. Remember, the goal here isn't just to move the weight from point A to point B. It's to maximize the tension on the muscle for a specific duration. If the weight is too heavy to control for the prescribed eccentric duration, you're defeating the purpose. Start lighter, focus on impeccable form and control, and feel the deep burn and engagement in the target muscle. The intensity will come from the sustained tension, not just the load on the bar. You can apply tempo variations to almost any exercise, from barbell squats and bench presses to dumbbell curls and leg extensions. For instance, on a leg press, really focus on slowly resisting the weight as it comes down, taking a good 3 to 4 seconds, then powerfully pressing it back up. On lat pull downs, control the ascent of the bar, feeling your lats stretch under load. This method requires immense focus and discipline, as the temptation to rush through the negative, especially as fatigue sets in, can be strong. But resisting that urge is where the real gains are made with this technique. Finally, remember that tempo manipulation is another tool for progressive overload. Once you've adapted to a certain tempo with a given weight, you can look to progress by either slightly increasing the weight while maintaining that tempo, or by further increasing the duration of the eccentric phase, or even by adding a pause at the peak contraction or stretch position. It adds another layer of sophistication to your training, forcing your muscles to adapt in new and challenging ways. It's not just about lifting heavy, it's about lifting smart, controlling every inch of every rep, and unlocking new levels of muscle growth through the power of deliberate movement. Alright team, welcome back. We're diving deep into progressive overload, and method number 6 is a real game changer. One that many lifters overlook but can unlock serious new dimensions of growth. We're talking about changing your exercise angle or leverage. Now, you might be thinking, how much difference can a little tilt or a slight shift in my arm position really make? And I'm here to tell you it can make a world of difference, my friends. Think of your muscles not as simple, one-dimensional blocks, but as complex, multifaceted structures with fibers running in various directions. To truly sculpt a well-rounded, aesthetically pleasing and powerfully functional physique, you need to learn how to speak the language, and that often means approaching them from different angles to stimulate every last fiber, ensuring comprehensive development and avoiding those dreaded plateaus that can stall your progress. Let's take a classic example that everyone knows: the bench press, the king of upper body pushing movements for building that impressive chest. If you're only ever doing flat bench presses, you're primarily hitting the sternal head, the main belly of your pecs, which is great for overall mass, but it's not the whole story. But what about the upper chest, that crucial shelf that makes your physique pop, giving you that powerful armored look? That's where the incline bench press comes into its own, becoming an indispensable tool in your arsenal. By angling the bench upwards, say 30 to 45 degrees, you shift the mechanical stress significantly towards the clavicular head of the pectoralis major. Suddenly, you're recruiting fibers that were getting less love on the flat bench, leading to a more complete and visually striking upper body. Conversely, a decline bench press where the bench is angled downwards will target the lower portion of your chest more effectively, helping to create that defined lower pec line. It's not about one angle being definitively superior to the others. It's about understanding how each specific angle contributes uniquely to the complete picture of chest development, ensuring no part is left underdeveloped or lagging behind. This same principle applies to so many other exercises. Think about squats. A wider stance might hit your adductors and glutes more, while a narrower stance can emphasize the quads. Even slight variations in your foot placement or the bar position can dramatically alter the muscular emphasis, allowing you to fine-tune your training for specific goals. The beauty of manipulating exercise angles is that it allows you to introduce novel stimuli to your muscles without necessarily needing to increase weight or volume immediately. You're essentially asking your body to perform work in a slightly different way, forcing new motor units to fire and different muscle fibers to engage more intensely. This can be incredibly effective for breaking through stubborn plateaus where you feel like you're just spinning your wheels. Consider rows. A wider grip pulling higher towards your chest will hit your upper back, and rear delts differently than a closer grip pulling lower towards your waist, which emphasizes the lats. Experiment, listen to your body, and feel how these subtle shifts can lead to significant gains in both size and strength over time, building a more balanced and resilient physique. Now, let's talk about the other side of this coin-changing leverage. This is another sophisticated way to progressively overload your muscles, often without adding a single pound to the bar or doing an extra rep. Leverage, in the context of resistance training, refers to the mechanical advantage or disadvantage you create through your body positioning or how you hold the weight relative to the joint that's moving. By altering leverage, you can make an exercise significantly harder or easier, even with the exact same external load. It's about manipulating the physics of the movement to intensify the challenge on the target muscles, forcing them to work harder and adapt by growing stronger and bigger. This is smart training, people, working with your body's mechanics. A fantastic example of playing with leverage is the lateral raise for building those cannonball deltoids. If you perform a lateral raise with your arms perfectly straight, holding the dumbbells at the furthest point from your shoulder joint, the exercise is incredibly challenging due to the long lever arm. However, if you slightly bend your elbows, you shorten that lever arm, making the same weight feel considerably lighter and easier to manage. This isn't cheating, it's understanding biomechanics. You can use this to your advantage by starting with a stricter, longer lever and then, as fatigue sets in, slightly bending the elbows to eke out a few more growth-inducing reps. This principle applies to countless exercises, from leg extensions where the pad position changes leverage to bodyweight movements like planks or push-up variations where hand or feet placement alters the difficulty. Changing leverage is a powerful tool because it allows for micro progressions and introduces a different kind of intensity. Think about exercises like front levers or planches in calisthenics. The progression often comes from extending the body further, increasing the lever arm, and thus the difficulty rather than adding external weight. In weight training, you might apply this by, for example, performing a dumbbell fly with a wider arc versus a slightly narrower one, or by adjusting your hand position on a machine. It's about making the muscle work harder through mechanical disadvantage, which can be a potent stimulus for hypertrophy, especially when you feel you've hit a wall with simply adding more plates to the bar. This method demands greater control and stability, further enhancing your overall athleticism. Ultimately, mastering both exercise angles and leverage provides you with an expanded toolkit for continuous improvement and balanced muscular development. By thoughtfully incorporating these changes, you prevent your body from fully adapting to any single movement pattern, keeping your muscles constantly guessing and growing. This isn't just about chasing numbers, it's about sculpting your physique with precision, targeting specific areas, and building a body that's as strong and functional as it looks. So, next time you're in the gym, don't just go through the motions. Think about how you can tweak your angles, adjust your leverage, and unlock a new level of intensity and results. This intelligent approach to training is what separates the amateurs from the pros who consistently make progress year after year. Alright, let's move on to our seventh and final method of progressive overload for today, and it's one that adds a fantastic dimension of versatility and unique challenge to your training using resistance bands or instability tools. First up, let's talk about resistance bands. These aren't just for physio or light warm-ups anymore, my friends. They are serious tools for muscle growth when used correctly. The magic of resistance bands lies in what we call accommodating resistance. Unlike free weights, where the resistance is constant throughout the lift, gravity doesn't change, right? The tension from a resistance band increases the further it's stretched. This means the exercise gets progressively harder as you move through the range of motion, particularly at the peak contraction. This accommodating resistance offers a unique benefit for muscle hypertrophy. Think about a squat or a bench press with a barbell. Often the hardest part is at the bottom of the movement, and it gets a bit easier as you approach lockout. With bands added, the tension ramps up as you extend, meaning your muscles have to work harder precisely where they are often at their strongest mechanically. This can lead to greater muscle activation and force production at the end range of motion, a phase that might not be maximally challenged with free weights alone. This increased time under significant tension, especially during the peak contraction, can be a powerful stimulus for muscle growth, helping you to overcome sticking points and build more complete strength through the entire lift. There are so many practical ways to incorporate resistance bands into your workouts. You can loop them around a squat rack and then onto your barbell for squats, deadlifts, or bench presses, adding that increasing tension as you lift. This is a favorite technique of powerlifters for building explosive strength and breaking through plateaus. You can also use them for standalone exercises. Band pull-aparts are phenomenal for rear delts and upper back health. Banded glute kickbacks can isolate the glutes incredibly well. And bicep curls or tricep pushdowns with bands offer a different feel and stimulus compared to dumbbells or cables. The possibilities are truly vast, limited only by your creativity and understanding of how to apply them effectively. Furthermore, resistance bands are incredibly versatile, lightweight, and portable. This makes them an excellent option for home workouts, for travel, or for adding extra volume or intensity when you don't have access to a full gym. You can get a full body workout with just a set of bands. They are also relatively inexpensive compared to a full rack of weights. Don't underestimate the power of these simple, elastic tools. When integrated intelligently into your program, they can provide a novel stimulus that shocks your muscles into new growth, enhances joint stability by engaging smaller stabilizing muscles, and adds a fun, challenging element to your training routine, keeping things fresh and productive. Now let's shift our focus to instability tools. We're talking about things like Bosu balls, stability balls, Swiss balls, wobble boards, balance discs, or even suspension trainers like TRX. The primary purpose of these tools is to create an unstable surface or environment which forces your body to work much harder to maintain balance and control during an exercise. While some hardcore lifters might scoff at these, thinking they're only for rehab or fluffy workouts, they can actually play a valuable role in a well-rounded strength program especially when it comes to progressive overload by challenging your neuromuscular system in a unique way. It's about adding a different kind of demand on your body. When you perform an exercise on an unstable surface, your larger prime mover muscles still do their job, but now your smaller, deep, stabilizing muscles have to fire like crazy to prevent you from falling over or losing form. This increased activation of stabilizers is crucial not just for injury prevention and joint health, but it can also contribute to overall strength development. A stronger, more stable core and more responsive proprioceptors, your body's sense of position, mean you can transfer force more efficiently and maintain better technique when you go back to your heavy, stable lifts. Think of it as building a more solid foundation upon which you can then build greater peak strength and muscle mass. So, how can you use these for muscle growth? Well, while you might not be lifting your absolute max weight on a BOSU ball squat, the increased muscular effort required for stabilization can still provide a significant training stimulus, especially for endurance or as a way to deload heavy spinal loading while still challenging the muscles. Examples include performing dumbbell presses on a stability ball, doing push-ups with your hands or feet on BOSU balls, or incorporating single leg exercises on a balance disc to really challenge your ankle, knee, and hip stabilizers. Suspension trainers like TRX use your own body weight and instability to create incredibly challenging exercises for the entire body, forcing constant core engagement and muscular control. It's important to approach instability training with caution and common sense. Master the exercise on a stable surface first before attempting it on an unstable one. The goal isn't to turn your workout into a circus act, but to strategically incorporate instability to challenge your body in new ways, improve your motor control, and activate those often neglected stabilizer muscles. This can lead to better performance in your main lifts, reduce the risk of injury, and yes, contribute to muscle growth by adding a novel stressor that your body must adapt to. It's another tool in your progressive overload arsenal, perfect for adding variety and addressing potential weak links in your kinetic chain, ultimately making you a more resilient and capable lifter. And there you have it. Team, 7 powerful battle-tested methods of progressive overload that you can start implementing right now to build muscle faster, get stronger, and absolutely smash through any plateaus that stand in your way. We kick things off with the most fundamental principle, adding more weight to the bar, the cornerstone of strength progression, always ensuring proper form and safety. Then we explored the impact of increasing your reps, pushing your muscular endurance, and creating that metabolic stress that signals growth, finding that sweet spot between load and volume. These two alone can take you incredibly far on your journey to a more powerful physique. Next, we delved into the strategy of increasing your sets, adding more total working volume to further fatigue the muscle fibers and stimulate greater adaptation, while also stressing the importance of adequate recovery to make those gains. We then looked at how shortening your rest times between sets can significantly ramp up the intensity of your workouts, boost metabolic stress, and improve your cardiovascular conditioning, all contributing to a more challenging and productive session. These methods focus on manipulating the density and overall demand of your training, forcing your body to become more efficient and resilient. Remember, consistency with these principles is key to unlocking your potential. Then we got a bit more advanced, discussing how using advanced tempo techniques like slow negatives or explosive concentrics can dramatically increase time under tension and muscle damage, leading to profound hypertrophic responses. We also uncovered the subtle yet powerful impact of changing exercise angles or leverage, allowing you to target different muscle fibers, ensure balanced development, and introduce novel stimuli without always needing more weight. And finally, we explored the dynamic duo of resistance bands and instability tools, which add unique forms of resistance and challenge your stabilizers, bringing variety and new avenues for growth. Each of these techniques offers a different pathway to progress. So the big question is, with all these strategies at your disposal, which one of these 7 powerful progressive overload techniques are you most excited to apply first in your own training to kickstart new gains? I genuinely want to know what your next move is. Let me know in the comments below. And if you're truly committed to this journey, drop a stronger every week to declare your dedication. And hey, if you found this breakdown valuable and you're hungry for more no-nonsense, actionable strategies to transform your physique, build serious strength, and cultivate an unstoppable mindset, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell for GymProLife. We're building a community of lifters dedicated to real, sustainable results. Stay strong, keep pushing, and I'll see you in the next video.